Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back once again to the Virtual House Church. It's my blessing to be with you once again here to study the Word of Yahuwah, getting back to the basics. That's the whole purpose of Virtual House Church. You know, before we continue, I want to ask you to keep the broadcast in your prayers for all of you that are joining the live, because my internet connection is not the most good today. So I hope that we are not going to have any lagging or any delays in the broadcast. So keep this broadcast in your prayers. So we are going to have a blessing like we are having every week, studying the Word of Yahuwah. And in case you are finding some issues, just please let me know in the chat so to see if I can do something from my end. So, you know, it's a blessing like every week to be with you here in Virtual House Church in this channel, Light to the Nations. You know, I think all of us are waiting week after week to get to Shabbat, to have some rest, but especially, you know, to have this moment. I have to tell you, and I have been telling you this in the past, I think Virtual House Church is so wonderful. It's such a blessing that we have the chance to spend part of our time, you know, during the week, and especially spend part of our time during Shabbat to... sounds problems. Okay, let's see. Can you hear me better now? I hope that you can hear me. Oh, it's echoing. That's weird. Okay. So it seems that only all of you, some of you are having issues. So okay, very good. Perfect. So let's continue. And as I was telling you, I think all of us are waiting for this time of the week in order to spend this time, in order to study the Word of Yahuwah, but especially, you know, no matter that we don't know each other, to have this space in order to spend the time in the presence of Yahuwah, studying His Word. And, you know, I think this year particularly has been such a blessing to study this cycle. Now we are in the book of Samuel, because there are so important nuggets and pearls for all of us, and that is helping us, you know, in our own way. And talking about pearls, you know, there's something I was reading this morning that I want to share with you, and I think this is something we need to keep in our thoughts and our mind all the time. Let me see if I find it fast here. You know, I was preparing the portion, so I wasn't prepared actually to share this word with you. And let's see. Yes, it is here. So let me share this with you because you know, it's important. It's talking about the pearls. And this is something, you know, is so beautiful, are the words of Mashiach. And it's something that should be in our heart. And we are going to talk about the heart today. And this is in the book of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 44. And we are going to read until the verse 49, most probably. So it says the following. 44 is here. And this Yahushua speaking, saying, again, the reign of the heavens is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man having found it, hid. And for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buy that field. Again, the reign of the heavens is like a merchant, seeking fine pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the reign of the heavens is like a dragnet that was thrown into the sea, and gathered some of every kind, which, when it was filled, they drew to shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into the containers, but threw the rotten away. That shall it be at the end of the age. The messenger shall come forth and separate the wicked out of the midst of the righteous. So, what Yahushua is saying to us, and, I was talking about the prayer, and that's why I remember what I was reading this morning, is that we need to remember and we need to treasure in our heart that the kingdom of Yahuwah is our biggest treasure. The kingdom of Yahuwah and the word of Yahuwah is our biggest treasure, and we need to store it in our inner being, in our heart, understanding and remember every day, all the time, that the most important thing in our life is the kingdom of Yahuwah. And through Yahushua HaMashiach, we are able to be part of that kingdom. And no matter what's going on during the week, no matter what's going on during the day, no matter what's going on, the different challenges or the difficulties or the good days or the joy we can have, the good and the bad, we need to understand and we need to put our focus that the kingdom of Yahuwah is the most important thing, is that our eyes have been opened to the truth of the word of Yahuwah, to the truth of the kingdom of Yahuwah, that we belong to that kingdom. We don't belong to this world. And when we have this mindset, and I know it's not easy sometimes, because everything that's going on around us make it very difficult time to time. But when we are able to put this mindset, when we're able to put our mind focused that we belong to the kingdom of Yahuwah, that the kingdom of Yahuwah is the most important treasure we can have, we're going to have the attitude of the parable that Yahushua mentioned here in this book, that we are going to sell everything. Yahushua was not speaking literally because he was speaking in parable. Even, he's pushing us to sell everything, and this is his will, we need to be obedient. But what he's trying to say is that it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters, only the kingdom of Yahuwah. And that needs to be our mind, and that's why we need to pray to Yahuwah that he needs to renew our mind and our heart in order to put our focus on his kingdom as our treasure possession. So, this week for me has been a little bit difficult in certain things, has been good in other things, and most probably, you are going in different ways. And, every time that I'm getting these words directly from the scriptures, it reminds me first. And also, and that's why I'm sharing this with you, because I know that we have up and downs in a daily basis. We can have very good days and very bad days. But we need to understand that the joy of Yahuwah is our strength. The joy of Yahuwah is our strength. And we need to cling very fast to that, because is Yahuwah the one that is helping us? Is Yahuwah the one that is sustaining us all the time? We just need to trust in him all the time, no matter the difficulties we're going through, no matter the challenges we are going through, because those difficulties and those challenges is the way that Yahuwah is trying all of us in order to search out what is in our heart. So I hope this word is also being a blessing to you. It was a blessing to me when I was reading this morning. So I just wanted to share with you. So, as we always do, just want to remind all of you that the Virtual House Church is, is something, it's a project, it's a ministry that our beloved brother Rob Skiva started back on 2012 with his wife, Chile Skiva. And let me put the screen over here, so just to go directly to the site. And, this is the website of Virtual House Church. And we need to keep in our memories and in our heart our brother Rob, because we will see him again, in any moment, very soon, is what I believe. So, he started this project and this ministry being obedient to Yahuwah, and obedience is so much important, and we have been studying this for so long, that we need to follow the same steps. We need to be obedient to the voice and to the word of Yahuwah. And Rob was obedient back on 2012 together with Sheila, and they started Virtual House Church. And the Virtual House Church has been working and running since then in different phases and different formats and so on. And, Rob did an amazing work and service to Yahuwah, collecting so much information for the Torah cycle in this website that I have been telling you week after week. We need to use these resources. There's so much information over here that is going to help us in our own walk in order to study the word of Yahuwah in different aspects for the study of the Torah, the study of the word of Yahuwah, and also understanding, how to defend Mashiach. This is something that was the latest thing that Rob was doing in this site. Also, his research about the coming out of Babylon. And there are so plenty of information that we should take the time and go there and to use it for our own benefit in order to grow in knowledge and understanding in the kingdom of Yahuwah. So, and Jay has been working and helping us lately. If you go here in this site, in the home site, and you click here, you will go to the new page of Virtual House Church, and to the left, you will find this week's study. In this column at the left, this week's study over here. And you will get to this page. And here you will find all the studies we have been doing this new cycle, with the cycle in the book of Joshua, the cycle of the book of Judges, and the one that we are doing now, that is in the book of 1 Samuel. So I will invite you to go to the site and to study this information. And as I have been inviting you week after week, also you should go and share this information with others. We need to shine the light of Yahuwah in this world. And let me check something that I haven't done for a while. Is just to check this map over here, because it's always so beautiful to see all these blue dots that it given us a picture, how the kingdom of Yahuwah, how the people of Yahuwah has been growing and has been gathered. All of these blue dots that we see in this map is basically people that has been awakened to the truth of Yahuwah, and this is so beautiful. And we need to understand that not everybody is over here. So can you imagine, how much people has been awakened to the truth of the word of Yahuwah? And it's so beautiful to see it, visually, because we know the promises of Yahuwah, that He is going to gather His people from the four corners of the earth. And here we can see it literally and visually, that this is exactly, something that is so truth. We are in the four corners of the earth, and Yahuwah will fulfill His word and His promises. And He will gather all of these blue dots, and the blue dots are not here in this map, all of them, all together, all of us together, and He will send us to His promised land. That's going to be a fantastic and a beautiful day. And can you see, there's people living over Japan and South Korea. And let me see here. Is South Korea, Scott and Cassie Sloan, there are people all over the place, even here, where it is, in China, in Taiwan, all these places that they're suffering and going through difficulties, in this world so crazy in these last days, that we need to pray for all of them. We need to pray for the entire body of Mashiach, that He can sustain us in this time of trouble. It's just a matter to see the news, what's going on, and to understand as an evidence that we are living in the last days. There's no doubt that we are living in the last days. And, the birth pains are increasing and becoming more frequent and more bigger actually in terms of strength, and that's an evidence that we are getting so close to the final stage, and the final stage is Yahushua coming to establish the kingdom of Yahuwah and to gather his people. And I think I have been telling you this in the past, and we will see some of it in the portion today. We can be full of fear of what's going on. We can be full of fear because of the uncertainty of what's going to happen tomorrow, or the next week, or the next month. We can be full of fear what's going to happen to us, to our family, even to our income, our jobs. That's normal to go through those thoughts and through that mindset. But exactly on those times of troubles and uncertainties is when we have the opportunity to practice our faith, when we have the opportunity to discover and to show Yahuwah what really is in our heart. And I know it's easy to say, but not easy to do. That's true. But, if we are really convinced in our heart, and we really trust and believe in Yahuwah with all our heart, he is the one that is going to sustain us throughout the process. And, for all of you that have been studying the prophecies of the last days, and, even here in this channel, I was doing in the past video study, a study series of the last days. We know that what's coming ahead of us is going to get increasing and increasing. It's going to get worse. That's the situation. That's what's the scripture, the word of Yahuwah is telling us. So I think Yahuwah has been preparing us for that time. Throughout all these years, Yahuwah has been preparing your heart, my heart, in order to be closer and closer and closer to Him. Because that's the way that He is going to sustain us during the time of tribulation. And it's true that we are going through some time of tribulation today. But we know that, we know that the times are going to get even stronger and much more difficult. So we need to not to be full of fear. To the opposite, we need to be full of faith. We need to be full of joy, because the joy of Yahuwah, as I said, is our strength. And it's good to see how Yahuwah, in these little challenges and little tests, is preparing our heart in order to be strong enough in His word. We study the book of Joshua, and the book of Joshua was an amazing blessing to all of us, in order to understand that we need to be strong and courageous. And what we have been doing and studying in the cycle is basically also a kind of preparation to all of us, how to put the word of Yahuwah in practice in our own lives, how to get to the point to be strong and courageous. And it's important, and this point is critical, it's really important that we need to put the word of Yahuwah in practice in our day-to-day, in every experience that we are going through. We need to live the word of Yahuwah. It's not just a matter to thought and to believe in our heart. We need to put the word of Yahuwah into action. That's the way that the word of Yahuwah is going to be fully written in our hearts, if we put the word of Yahuwah into action. That's the final step and it's my belief, is one of the most important, because that's the way we fulfill and we complete the cycle of the word of Yahuwah in our hearts, in our lives. Understanding, receiving the understanding, receiving the alignment of the word of Yahuwah and the light of Yahuwah, and to complete it through our actions. So, that this is something that only you can do it. It's only me can do it in my day-to-day, in your day-to-day. So, without further delay, I just wanted to share these words with you. We're gonna move forward with this portion today. And as we always do it in this new cycle, I just want to share a song with you all. So I hope you are going to enjoy it. So here we go.
אדוני, אלי תמין שאול נפשי, חייתני מירדיבו. אדוני, אלי תמין שאול נפשי, חייתני מירדיבו. זמרו לאדוני חסידיו, זמרו והודו לזכר קודשו, כי רגע באפו חיים ברצונו. בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה. ואני אמרתי ושלווית, בלמות לעולם. ואני אמרתי ושלווית, בלמות לעולם. כי רגע באפו חיים ברצונו. בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה. הפכת מספדי למחולי, פיתחת עסקי ותעזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך חבוד ולא ידום, אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודקה. הפכת מספדי למחולי, פיתחת עסקי ותעזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך חבוד ולא ידום, אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודקה. בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה. בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה. בערב ילים, בערב ילים, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים, בערב ילים, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים, בערב ילים, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה, בערב ילים, בערב ילים, בערב ילים בכי ולבוקר עינה.
It's a beautiful song and it's so full of truth. I have to tell you something. I already mentioned that this week was a little bit challenging for me, and it was a little bit funny because I felt one of the day of the week that something similar to what we were reading in the portion last week is that through some of those a very challenging situation at my secular job, I felt in one moment that like the ruach was upon me and the burning displeasure the heat up, and I was fighting back in righteousness. And it was funny because when that happened, I immediately remember what we were studying last week. But why I'm bringing this up? Because when you are going through those type of situation, your heart and your mind get a little bit beaten, and I think what the song was saying about is totally true. Is that if we rely in Yahuwah, weeping will last for the night, but joy will come in the morning. And that's only will happen when we rely in Yahuwah, when we trust in Him, when we let Him guide us on the way, when we let Him guide us on our decisions and in our actions. So that should be the focus, that no matter what we are going through, no matter that we are crying to Yahuwah, no matter that we are going through sad moments, or no matter where we are going through challenging moments, that's going to last for one night if we really trust in Yahuwah. And if we really do, joy and gladness will come in the morning. And with that spirit, I will invite you to close your eyes, to lift your hands, and let's pray to Yahuwah together in this moment. Abba Tov, Abba Kadosh, we want to give thanks to you in this moment, because you give us the opportunity once again to guard your commandments, to honor you by keeping your Shabbat. And it's such a blessing, it's such a blessing to know your truth. Even though that we don't know your entire truth, what you have been teaching us throughout the years is such a blessing. To know your ways, to know the ways and the righteousness of your kingdom. That's our treasure possession. You are our treasure possession. And it fills our heart to have the opportunity to keep your Shabbat, to keep your covenant, your eternal covenant, that covenant that you gave to Abraham, to Yitzhak, to Yaakov, that covenant that you spoke out with your mouth in Har Sinai to your people Israel, that covenant that you renewed with the offering of your son Yahushua HaMashiach. Toda Abba, because just by keeping your covenant, just by keeping your instruction, and by doing it with all our heart, with all our mind, and with all our strength, we do it in order to show you that we love you. And it's something that we can do, is the minimal thing we can do in order to show our love for you and to give you something back in return to everything that you do for us. You have done so wonderful things for your people Israel through all the history, Abba. And you have done so much wonderful things for us, your people, your remnant, in this time, that the only thing we can do is to love you with all our heart and to praise your name and to worship your name. Thank you, Abba, Toda Abba, because we know that your presence is with us. Toda Abba, because you are blessing this gathering week after week. And we are gathering week after week just because of love to one another. But most importantly, because our love for you. We want to know you more, Abba. We want to remember you every day. We want to get closer to you, Abba. In this time, especially in these times. Because if we know that we are under your shadow, we have nothing to fear. Because you are the one fighting the battle for us. Because you are the one sustaining us. Give us a clean heart, Abba. Give us a heart that is walking according to your heart. And prepare us, Abba. Prepare us for that day that is coming soon. For the pouring of your Ruach HaKodesh. We are seeking your face, Abba, day after day. We are waiting for you, Abba. Give us of your Ruach. Give us of your wisdom. And give us of your power, Abba. And guide us today in this study. We are doing it in your name, Abba. You are doing it in your honor. Thank you, Abba, for giving us the strength, for giving us of your power, and especially for giving us your joy and your shalom in our heart. Toda Abba, we pray to you in this moment. We lift up our voices to you, the only true Elohim, the Creator, the Maker of the heavens and the earth. And we do it in the awesome name of your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach Malkeinu. Amen. Oof. You need to apologize me a little bit because, this is my last day of fasting and a little bit emotional and, it's not, when you feel the presence of Yahuwah, you just need to let it go because that's the way that he is feeling you, and guiding you. So, if you see me drinking too much water because my mouth is getting very, very dry, so you understand why. So, we have so many things to share today, and even though that it's just 2 chapters, and but I think it's an important chapter, and when I was preparing this information for this study, I was doing it today before the broadcast, and I think the main focus on what I was getting and receiving was mainly in the chapter 13. There are few things and important things in the chapter 14 that we are going to speak about, but I think what is we see in the chapter 13 is so important that I think we need to go into the details and to see what we see over there. So let's go and let me share with you the scripture in the screen, and we are going to read together and study together the chapter 13 of the book of Samuel. So let's go there, chapter 13, and let's read it together. And as always, invite you, let not read, and I'm doing it just because I'm broadcasting this, but take your scripture. There's no something much better to have, your written word here in your hands and to read it along with me. So let's go, and we are going to start the verse 1, and let's see what we see over here. So it says, Shaul was some years old. It doesn't say the word how many it was when he began to reign. And when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Shaul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel, and 2,000 were with Shaul in Michmash and in the mountains of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Givah of Benjamin. And the rest of the people he sent away, each to his tent. And Jonathan struck the watchpost of the Philistines, that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Shaul blew with the shofar throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear. And all Israel heard the news, that Shaul had stricken a watchpost of the Philistines, and also that Israel had become a stench to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to Shaul at Gilgal. This is so beautiful, because we know, and we were studying this in the book of Judges, how Israel was subdued for many years in different phases to the Philistines. And there was always war between the two people. And we see here, after they chose a king and Yahweh gave them a king because they asked for a king, that they started to win the battles. And, I do believe that this was such an amazing news for all of them. And it was something new that was happening, something that they didn't see happening in the past. That's why, Shaul was blowing with the shofar. And for me, now that I read it again, this could be a prophetic for Shaul as well. The king blowing with the shofar. This is exactly what's going to happen at the end of times. We know that, Yahushua will send the messengers, and they're going to blow with the shofar and with the trumpets, announcing, the conquering of the earth for the establishment of the kingdom of Yahuwah. And this is exactly, some kind of foreshadow we see here happening with Shaul conquering the land, the promised land, conquering their enemies, moving ahead with the deliverance of the land in order to give us to the people of Yahuwah. And, I think the people was with so much doubt, because they didn't see this happening before, that they couldn't believe it. And, this should not happen to us. No matter, and there are so many places in the scripture that we are much more blessed than the ones that we have believed without seeing. That we need to continue with that. That no matter if we have not seen things that Yahuwah did in the past, we need to continue to believe that even these things that will happen, Yahushua conquering the earth for himself at the end times, it should not be a surprise for us. It should be something that we are hoping this to happen. But even though that we are hoping for that, and it's not going to be a surprise, it's going to be so amazing to see it with our eyes. I think all of us are expecting for that day to happen. So let's continue in the verse 4. And all Israel heard the news that Shaul had stricken the watchpots of the Philistine, and also that Israel had become strange to the Philistine. And the people were summoned to Shaul at Gilgal. And the Philistines gathered to fight Israel 30,000 chariots. 30,000. Wow. And 6,000 horsemen. And people as numerous as the sand of the seashore. And they came up and encamped in Michmash, east of Beth-awen. Can you imagine, such an army? Such an army is like, what we see happening in the Battle of Har-Megiddo. This is Armageddon, that everybody knows like this, but it's Har-Megiddo. It's the mountain of Megiddo. That all the kingdoms of the earth are going to gather themselves in order to fight what's coming from the earth. They're going to say this is an alien invasion, most probably. Something is coming from the sky. We need to gather ourselves and unite the world in order to fight what's coming from the earth and what's coming from the sky and what's coming from out of the space. That's going to be most probably the speech that everybody's going to talk on those days. And, we see this happening very similar, The Philistines are gathering this big army in order to fight the people of Yahuwah. And unfortunately, what's happening in the next verse, I think, and this is the first point that I wanted to share with you today, it is something that should be an example to us not to fall in the same mistake. And why I'm saying this? Because it says in the verse 6, and the men of Israel saw that they were in trouble, for the people were distressed, and the people hid in caves, and in thorny bushes, and in rocks, and in holes, and in pits. And some Hebrews passed over the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilad, but Shaul was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling. So we see here the attitude of the people of Israel. As I was sharing with you at the beginning, is the attitude of a people full of fear. Is the attitude of a people without the trust in Yahuwah. Is the attitude of a people that doesn't trust and doesn't give their hearts to Elohim. Is the attitude of a people without faith. Because, they saw this big mountain in front of them. They saw this big challenge in front of them. And the first thing they did is to run away. The first thing they did is to hide themselves. And, there are so many things that we have been studying in Torah, in the book of Joshua, in the book of Judges, that we see the same pattern going on in Israel. That sometimes their faith is so up to sky that they will move forward and they're going to speak to the mountain to get removed and go to the sea. And the mountain will get removed, as Yahushua was speaking, practicing their faith. But we see also the example, most of the times, that the people of Israel so much with fear that they decided to run away, not trusting in Yahuwah. And when I was studying this topic, I think we can correlate this to our own walk. Day by day we are going through difficulties. It could be a small hill, or it could be a big mountain. And this is exactly in those times is when we are going to show what is in us when we are going to show what is our faith. You know, Jacob, known as James in his book, he spoke about that. You know, it's interesting in the way that he was talking about faith, you know, and the key point that he was mentioning that in order to show our faith, we do it through our actions. If our action is to run away and to hide ourselves, it's because our faith is not complete. And, you know, this is happening to Israel as a body in this portion. But if we look at it at a personal level, it could happen to us as well. You know, I mean, is it happening to you? It's happening to the other, and it's happening to the other one. You know, at the end, collectively, we are building the same mindset as the people of Yahuwah. In this case, maybe full of fear and not practicing our faith, or maybe not having full faith. To the contrary, you know, we are being called to do something totally different, to have a different heart, and to believe in Yahuwah. And you know what's going on to us, and this is something that I told you this in the past, and you know this already. You know, the battle is here in our mind. The battle is there, and every time that we let the door open to the devil to give us those thoughts that are going against to the thoughts of Yahuwah, you know, the battle began. The battle in our mind began, and the doubts are starting to go to our heart, to forget to trust in Yahuwah, forget the faith of Yahuwah. And I think that this is exactly what was happening to Israel. There was something new that was happening to them, conquering and winning battles against the Philistines. And, you know, sometimes we are get so used for things to go in a normal way, and we get so used to accept few things and not to be able to see the hand of Yahuwah in our day-to-day. We are blind most of the times. That when the troubles comes with doubt, and you know, the only way, and this is something so beautiful, that the only way that we can fight back those things and to win that battle in our mind is remembering Yahuwah. And this is something we need to practice all over the time, is to remember Yahuwah, to remember what He had done to us, to remember what He had done to Israel in the past, to remember the wonderful things and the powerful things He has done to Israel. If we remember day after day, minute after minute, we are going to be able to win the battle of our mind, understanding that Yahuwah is with us. We are not alone. And no matter that we see this big mountain in front of us, as the Israel was seeing here this big army of the Philistines, we are not going to be afraid, because our heart will be with Yahuwah. And you know, there's I titled this portion, you know, a man after his own heart, and we will see this in this passage later on. But there are few passages in the book of Tehillim, Psalms, that speak about how should be our heart. And, you know, the man after his own heart, we know that was David. And he was the one writing the Tehillim. And, you know, if we really want to understand what it means to have a heart after Yahuwah's heart, it's just a matter to read the Tehillim, the Psalms, and we'll understand how should be our heart for Yahuwah. So let me share with you a few passages regarding this, not be in fear and to trust in Yahuwah. Something that, the people of Israel didn't do in this portion. And this, what I bringing this up? Because this should be an example to us of what we should not do. This should be an example, that as we see in Israel in the past, you remember when the 12 spies came from the land of Canaan, 10 with the bad reports and 2 just with the good report. What happened with the people? They wanted to go back to Mizraim, to Egypt. They were crying out because they were in fear of their families. That's what fear and doubt can do in us. It will let them in. And the only way to fight this back, as I told you, is remembering Yahuwah every day, every minute, understanding that He is with us, and to renew our heart, understanding, the same words that we see in the book of Tehillim. So let's go to the book of Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 46. And we're going to read from verse 1 to 11. And most probably, yes, we are going to get to this point most probably. That we are sharing the counting for the Shavuot. And the 46 will come, as part of the counting of Shavuot in the day 46. But we are going to read it now for the sake of this study. And it says, Elohim is our refuge and our strength, a help in distress soon found. Therefore, we do not fear, though the earth reels and mountains topple into the heart of the seas. Let its waters rage, foam. Let mountains shake with swelling, Selah. A river whose streams make glad the city of Elohim, the Kodesh, the set-apart dwelling of the Most High. Elohim is in her midst. She does not topple. Elohim does help her when morning turns. The nations shall rage. Reigns shall topple. He shall give forth his voice. The earth melts. Yahuwah Sebaot is with us. The Elohim of Yaakov is our refuge. Selah. Come, see the works of Yahuwah, the ruins He has wrought on the earth, causing all fighting to cease. Unto the end of the earth, He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariot with fire. Be still and know that I am Elohim. I am exalted among nations. I am exalted in the earth. Yahuwah Sebaot is with us. The Elohim of Yaakov is our refuge. Selah. That's the heart that Yahuwah is seeking from His people, to trust in Him, that He is our refuge, that He is with us. And we see exactly the same, or very similar, in the same book of Tehillim, in the chapter 31. We are going to read verse 13 to 16. And it says the following: For I hear the evil report of many. Fear is from all around. When they take counsel together against me, they plot to take away my life. But I have put my trust in you, O Yahuwah. I have said, you are my Elohim. My times are in your hand. Deliver me from the hand of my enemies and from those who pursue me. Make your face shine upon your servant. Save me in your loving commitment. So, that's the heart of a man that has the heart of Yahuwah. And that's the heart that we need to have as the children of Elohim, trusting Him at all times, no matter, as we see here, that fear is from all around, no matter that we see this big mountain, and we will see a story later with David facing this big mountain, Goliath. We should not be afraid. We should not run away. We should not hide ourselves. and the rocks. So let's go back and let's continue with the reading. So it says, starting in the verse 8. And he waited for 7 days. This is talking about Saul. He waited for 7 days, according to the appointment with Samuel. But Shmuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. You see what's going on with fear? People were running away from the king. They were not trusting even in the king. And let's continue. And it came to be, as he had finished, in verse 9. And Saul said, bring an ascending offering and peace offering here to me. And he offered the ascending offering. And it came to be, as he had finished offering the ascending offering, look, Shmuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, to bless him. Then Shmuel said, what have you done? And Saul said, because I saw the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered at Michmash. So I said, the Philistines are going to come down on me at Gilgal, and I have not appeased the face of Yahuwah. So I felt compelled and offered an ascending offering. So I'm going to stop here because we have to talk about this point. And, we see here Shaul acting in a way that he was using his own understanding. He was trying to be wise according to his own eyes. And we see here Saul, also being in fear. And fear was pushing him to do something that he's supposed not to do. It seems, and the scripture here is a little bit silent, that it seems to be something that Shmuel was telling Shaul to wait for 7 days, but Shmuel was a little bit delayed. But Shaul was impatient. And patience is one of the fruit of the Ruach. And he was afraid because the people was moving out from him. And he decided to do something that was good in his own eyes. And when Shmuel came, the first thing he asked him, what would you have done? Shmuel was the one supposed to offer the ascending offerings, most probably. Or even though that maybe Shaul was going to be the one offering the ascending offerings, needed to happen when Shmuel was in that place as well. So, when I was reading this, what it came to my heart and my mind is there are two aspects here. That acting first according to our own understanding, and second, being disobedient. We have to avoid this, and that's why this chapter for me particularly is an example. It's an example of the things we should not do. It's an example. It's a warning for us of things that we should not do, mistakes that we should not commit. And in this case, to be impatient, to be in fear, is to disobey the commandment. And acting according to what we believe is right. And to the contrary, what the scripture is teaching us all over the place is that we need to ask Yahuwah, we need to seek the will of Yahuwah all the time, even for our tiny decisions. what we have to do. It's like David was doing, and we'll read about this in the coming weeks. If I need to go to the right or I need to go to the left. That's the way that we seek the way of Yahuwah and the will of Yahuwah. And acting according to what is right in our own eyes. And we were reading this in the book of Judges as well, in the book of Joshua. Wasn't this the same mistake and the same issue, the same problem that Israel was doing in the past? It is written all over again in the book of Joshua and the book of Judges, and we were studying these two books recently, that they were doing what was right in their own eyes, instead of looking to do what is right before the eyes of Yahuwah. And this is exactly what Shaul was doing. He was doing what he thought was right. Maybe in his mind was good to do that. But did he consult to Yahuwah before doing this? He did it because he believed it was right to do it. And there are two passages in the scripture that I want to bring to our attention on this topic. And the first one is in the book of Proverbs, the book of Mishle in Hebrew, Proverbs, and it's in the chapter 3, and we are going to read from verse 1 to verse 7, and it says the following: My son, do not forget my Torah, and let your heart watch over my commands. And this is so beautiful, because like Abba is talking to us. It's like Abba is talking to me, is talking to you, is talking to his people. Do not forget my Torah. Let your heart watch over my commands. Let your heart, and the heart is so important for Yahuwah, that we need to seek and look for the status of our heart, if it is right or wrong before Yahuwah. For length of days, he said, the verse 2, and long life and peace they add to you. That's the result of the Torah of Yahuwah. Let not loving commitment and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Thus finding favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and man. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuwah and turn away from evil. In this instruction that we see here, and this amazing instruction, like Abba talking to all of us, telling us the importance of keeping his Torah, the importance of keeping his commandments, the blessings that is coming to us, to our own life, if we do so. He's also telling us a warning that we should not lean in our own understanding, that we should not be wise in our own eyes. What we need to do is to fear Yahuwah and turn away from evil. So we see here, some issues and holes in Shaul. We started to see here, we were seeing some of them at the beginning, 1 or 2 weeks ago, when he was hiding, behind the baggage, if you remember. And many other things that we were studying in the previous weeks. But here we see the attitude of Shaul, the attitude that we should not have, being wise in our own understanding or in our own eyes. And it's Yahuwah himself, the one telling us that we should not do that. And there's another example on the same in the book of Isaiah. This is Yeshayahu in Hebrew. And this is in the chapter 5. Verse 20 to 24. And it says the following. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Isn't that exactly what's going on in this season today? I was talking to some friends yesterday. We were discussing about what's going on here in my country, in Chile. And I think it's also the same thing that's happening all over the world. And how this generation has gone through an evil path. How, exactly what we are reading here in this passage, it became already a reality. Society calling good to what is evil and calling evil to what is good. That's why, we need to praise Yahuwah all time. We need to be humble in our ruach and be humble in our heart because of the compassion, because of the loving commitment, the chesed, because of the hava, the love of Yahuwah toward you and toward me, that He has been opening our eyes to understand from His word what is good and what is evil according to Him, in order to understand and be prepared to go through the times that we are living, to be able to discern what's going on and to discern how people are calling good what is evil and calling evil what is good. So let's continue. Who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. It's exactly the same words that we have been reading in the book of Mishle, Proverbs. That is exactly the mistake of Shaul. He was wise in his own eyes. That's exactly the mistake that this generation is making, being wise in their own eyes. And that's why we need to pray at all time not to fall in the same mistake. And sometimes we do. We need to be honest with us, because Yahuwah knows our heart. Sometimes we are wise in our own eyes. And that's why, we need to be humble, because it's the Ruach, the one that is convicting us from sin. Is the Ruach the one guiding us on the righteousness of the kingdom. So when we're able to see and understand and to see that we have been wise in our own eyes, is the Ruach the one talking to us and telling us that we have been doing something wrong. And that moment is when we need to seek for forgiveness and to go to the right path. And for me, what is interesting here in this passage is that being wise in our own eyes is connected to those calling evil good and good evil. So it's the same type of people, it's the same type of mindset, it's the same character. So we should not be among those generation. We should be different. We have been called out to be different. We have been called to have the heart of Yahuwah, exactly as we were reading in the book of Proverbs and the book of Tehillim and Psalms. We need to trust in Yahuwah. We need to seek to do what is right in his own eyes, not to fall in the same mistake. We need to be different in order to call what is good, good, and what is evil, evil. That's what we have been called out to be Kodesh, a Kodesh people, a set-apart people. That's the way we are going to bring the light of the kingdom of Yahuwah into this world. If we fall and we continue in the same situation and believing that what we are doing is good, when it is not, because we are acting according to what we think is right, we are not bringing the light of the kingdom of Yahuwah, because we are not seeking to do his will. We are doing our own will. And what Yahushua was inviting us to do is to deny ourselves in order to let him to live through us. And every time that we do this, we are going to let the kingdom of Yahuwah expand in preparation for the coming of Yahushua HaMashiach. Let's read. Woe to the mighty to drink wine, and brave men to mix strong drinks, who declare right the wrong for a bribe, and the righteousness of the righteous they turn aside from him. Therefore, as a tongue of fire devours the stubble, and the flame consumes the chaff, their root is as rottenness, and their blossom goes up like dust, because they have rejected, and listen to this, they have rejected the Torah of Yahuwah Sebaot, and despised the word of the Kodesh of Israel, the Kadosh of Israel, the word of the set-apart one of Israel. This type of people, the one that is rejecting the Torah of Yahuwah Sebaot, the ones despising the word of the Kodesh one, the set-apart one of Israel. Those are the one calling good evil. Those are the one being wise in their own eyes. We cannot be like them. As I said, we need to be different people. If we continue in the book of Samuel, there is something so interesting. And actually, let me go to the book of Revelation first. So just to explain myself on the topic that I want to talk to you. It says in the chapter 3 of the book of Revelation, verse 11, it says the following. And it's an advice that Yahushua HaMashiach, because Yahushua, the one that he received this revelation and he sent it through messengers to Yohanan and John. And, he was giving this advice in the verse 11, saying the following, See, I am coming speedily. And yes, he is coming speedily in these times. And listen to this. Hold what you have, that no one take your crown. Hold what you have, that no one take your crown. We know in many passages in the scripture that we have been called to be a kingdom of priests and king. Kohanim bemelachim in Hebrew. The crown represents this. The crown represents kingship. And also represent priesthood. And there is an interesting connection that we will see in a moment. So he's saying that no one take your crown. And in this portion, there is a clear example on how we can lose our crown. And everything is written for a purpose in the word of Yahuwah. And I do believe that this is written exactly in order to give us an advice on how to avoid losing our crown. So let's go back, just having this in our mindset the advice from Yahushua HaMashiach of holding fast on what we have. On what we have, is His Word. What we have is what He has been teaching us for so long, in order no one to take our crown. So let's go to Samuel chapter 13. And we are going to read from verse 13 and 14. And it says, "And Shmuel said to Shaul, 'You have been foolish. You have not guarded the command of Yahuwah your Elohim, which He commanded you. For now Yahuwah would have established your reign over Israel forever. But now your reign is not going to stand. Yahuwah shall seek for Himself a man after His own heart, and Yahuwah shall command him to be leader over His people, because you have not guarded what Yahuwah commanded you.'" If we understand this in the context of the advice of Yahushua HaMashiach in the book of Revelation, what we see happening here is that in this moment, and I know that there are more in this story that is coming, I think in the next portion, and we'll see it next week. But in this very same moment is when Shaul lost his crown. And that's the advice from Yahushua, to avoid anyone to take our crown. So how Shaul lost his crown? It is written here. And it's two things, and I didn't have the time to go into more details, but let's see what Shmuel told him. Those are the key that we need to consider in order to avoid losing our crowns. And it's in the verse 13, it says, "You have been foolish." Being a foolish person is the first thing. And why I put this? Because, Yahushua was talking about this parable of the wise and the foolish virgins. The foolish virgin didn't have the oil. And for me, the oil is a representation of the Ruach. They were not prepared for the coming, for the time and the hour. They were relaxed, not being fully prepared in their day-to-day. They were foolish. So the first aspect that is going to push us to lose our crown is to be foolish. And the second one that is so important is the next statement from Shmuel. "You have not guarded the command of Yahuwah your Elohim, which he commanded to you." And even, he's repeating this in the last part of the verse 14, "because you have not guarded what Yahuwah commanded you." So obedience is so important. If we are not obedient to the commandments of Yahuwah, if we are not following the word of Yahuwah, walking through our actions in His word, not keeping His covenant and not keeping His commandments, we could lose our crown, as Shaul did. So this is a warning for us, together with the advice of Yahushua HaMashiach. In order to keep our crown, we need to be wise, according to the wisdom of Yahuwah. And second, we need to guard and keep the commandments and the Torah of Yahuwah. That's the secret, and it's not difficult, It's just a matter to be willing to do it. It's just a matter to have the desire in our heart to do it day after day. until the end of times or until the end of our days. If we do so, we have secured our crown. Let's continue in this book. So it says, in the verse 15, and Shmuel arose and went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. And Shaul mustered the people who were present with him, about 600 men. And Shaul and Jehonathan, Jonathan his son, and the people who were present with them remained in Gibeah of Benjamin, while the Philistines camped at Michmash. And from the camp of the Philistines, raiders went out in 3 companies. The one company turned to the way that leads to Ophrah, to the land of Shual, and another company turned toward the way of Beit Horon, and another company turned toward the way of the borders that overlook the valley of Seboim, toward the wilderness. Now no blacksmith could be found in all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, "Lest the Hebrews make sword or spears." And all Israel went down to the Philistines, each one to sharpen his plowshare, and his mattock, and his axe, and his sickle. And the charge was a pin for the plowshares, and the mattocks, and the forks, and the axes, and to set the points of the goads. And it came to be on the day of battle, that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people who were with Shaul and Jehonathan, but they were found with Shaul and Jehonathan his son. And the outpost of the Philistines went out to the pass of Michmash. So, this part I found it so fascinating because, for me it's a prophetic foreshadow. What's going on here is that, they were going to face a big battle against the Philistines. They were so afraid, and they were hiding themselves in the holes of the earth, in rocks and so on. They were not trusting in Yehovah, we just saw a few minutes ago. But, at the moment of the battle, they didn't have any weapon. And no matter that we see this kind of battle strategy from the side of the Philistines, that they didn't allow any blacksmith to be in the side of Israel in order to avoid them to have weapons. For me, it's much more prophetic. And why is that? Because we know that what's the origin of weapons. If you have been reading the book of Hanoch, the book of Enoch, we know that the ones that were teaching men battle and to create weapons for battle were the Nephilim. You can easily go to the book of Enoch, Hanoch, and you will read the many things that the Nephilim were teaching the sons of men. And one of them was to create this battle weapon. And but not only that, we see here the land of Israel without weapon. They were not prepared. They were not moving ahead or having in their land weapons for battle. And there is so many promises for the upcoming new world that is talking about that for me these few passages are exactly the prophetic foreshadow of what Yahuwah is doing for Israel, and not only for Israel, for the entire world, is to cease any war, is to cease any battle, and to finally bring world peace. For so many years, so many people have been talking about peace and safety. So many people have been talking about that we need to push and move forward for world peace. And this is not at the hand of men. This is coming only by the hand of Yahuwah Sebaot, the maker of the heaven and the earth. So let's go and let's review some of those passages because they are so beautiful. So it says, the first one, in the book of Isaiah, Yeshayahu, chapter 2, verse 1 to verse 5. The word that Yeshayahu ben Amoz, son of Amoz, saw concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem. And it shall be in the latter days that the mountain of the house of Yahuwah is established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. And many people shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah, to the house of the Elohim of Yaakov, and let him teach us his ways, and let us walk in his paths. For out of Zion comes forth the Torah, and the word, the Devar of Yahuwah from Jerusalem. You know, it's so beautiful. Every time that I read these passages, I picture myself, and I picture all of us participating in this restoration. You know, the nations will be present. Part of the nations that will survive, it is written somewhere in the word of Yahuwah, will be present during the millennial kingdom of Yahushua HaMashiach. And, you know, somebody will need to guide them on the ways of Yahuwah. It's true, the light to the nations will be there, and that's Yahushua HaMashiach. It's going to be the banner, Jerusalem. But he will have, and that's going to be, this is going to sound funny, he will have so many umpalumpas. He will have so many servants, you and me, doing the work with him to guide the nations in the true ways, in the path of Yahuwah. And it's so beautiful to think on this, that, you know, we are going to have this amazing job, is to go and do what Yahushua is telling us to do, is to go and help the world, is to go and restore the righteousness in the world. That's going to be our job. That's what we are going to do together with Mashiach. And you know what's interesting is that we don't need to wait for the time. This is something we can start doing it today. It is written, I think, in the book of Isaiah, today is the day of salvation. Today is the day of salvation. We can start doing our future job, becoming our actual job, bringing that light in preparation for what's coming. But, you know, it's so beautiful to think that day when it's going to happen, you know, when the nations of the world, they are going to finally recognize that the true King and the true Elohim is Yahuwah Sebaot, and his son Yahushua HaMashiach is the King of Kings. That they themselves are going to say it exactly as it is written here. Let's go up to the mountain. Let's do Aliyah in Hebrew. Let's do Aliyah. Let's go up to the mountain to serve Yahuwah. And let's ask him to teach us how to walk in his ways. But let's continue reading, because I'm deviating from the topic. But everything is so connected and so beautiful. It says in the verse 4, and he shall judge between the nations, and shall reprove many peoples. And listen, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither teach battle any more. O house of Yaakov, come, and let us walk in the light of Yahuwah. So this is an amazing promise that in that day, and that's why I see this foreshadow exactly happening in the portion that we see here. Israel didn't have any weapon. The only thing they have is they have tools to work the soil. They have plowshares, they have sickles, and so on. Is a foreshadow exactly to what's going to happen under the true King, Yahushua HaMashiach. And it's something similar we see in the book of Hosea, Shea in Hebrew, in the chapter 2, verse 18, saying the following, "And in that day I shall make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the birds of the heavens, and with the creeping creatures of the ground. When bow and sword and battle I break from the earth, and I shall make them lie down in safety." Such an amazing time this will be. Such an amazing time of peace, final restoration, final, shalom, final righteousness. The entire world and the entire earth will be filled with the righteousness and the kavod of Yahuwah Sebaot, the glory of Yahuwah Sebaot. So, important topics about the chapter 13. And I reserved the last one, I think is the last one, at the end. It's about, when Shmuel was telling Shaul that Yahuwah was going to seek for a man after his own heart. And this is something that should speak to all of us as well, Yahuwah is searching the heart. And before going there, I just want to share with you something about that. And I found it very interesting. So let's read again what he said in the verse 14. Shmuel said this to Shaul, "But now your reign is not going to stand. Yahuwah shall seek for himself a man after his own heart." And, it is interesting that it's in this same book. A few weeks ago, we read something very similar. Maybe you don't remember now, but let's go and let's check it again. It's in the chapter 2 of Samuel, 1 Samuel. And it's in the verse 35. And this is exactly on the curse against Eli and against his house. And it says in the verse 35, it's not exactly the same wording, but the intention and what is written in the bottom line is very similar. It says in the verse 35, "And I shall raise up for myself a trustworthy priest who does according to what is in my heart and in my being. And I shall build him a steadfast house, and he shall walk before my anointed forever." And for me, this is so interesting and important as well, very important, that when he's talking about the king, he's talking about the king having a heart after the heart of Yahuwah. And also, if we read this, when he's talking about the priest, the Kohen, he's talking about the same characteristics. He's talking about a person, a Kohen, that is doing according to what is in Yahuwah's heart, what is in Yahuwah's being. Can you see, king and priest with the same type of characteristics? King and priest with the same attitude and attributes. What Yahuwah is looking for the two of them. And as I have been telling you and sharing with you in the past, all of this is converging to one person and one alone. And this is in the person of Yahushua HaMashiach, because of the perfect plan that Yahuwah had from the beginning of the world, and why Yahuwah allowed all of this to happen with Shaul and with Israel asking for a king, because he had a plan in order to put everything under Yahushua HaMashiach. That's an interesting thing to study. But, just seeing this, the same aspects and the same wording and the same statements for the priest and the king is just an additional evidence of what Yahuwah is looking and seeking for. In the book of Jeremiah, and it seems today we are going to take a little bit more time, like in the past. I think I'm speaking too much sometimes. But, if we need to take more time, we will do it. It says in the chapter 17, verse 9 and 10. Something very important. The following in the verse 9 and 10. The heart is crooked above all, and desperately sick. Who shall know it? Listen, because this is important. And the understanding what Yahweh is saying is that the heart is crooked and sick is something should make us think about it, And everything is connected to sin for sure. And understanding this baseline information is helping us to understand what Yahweh is doing for you and for me as part of his plan of restoration and his plan of salvation. So, but what is said in the verse 10 is so important. I, Yahuwah, search the heart. I try the kidneys and give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. You see, our actions matters. Our obedience matters because Yahuwah will give to us according to our fruits, the fruits of our actions, our deeds. But the points that I want to highlight here is that Yahuwah, and it is written in many other places, search the heart. He is searching your heart day and night. And he is searching my heart day and night to see if our heart is crooked or if we have a renewed heart. Why this is so important? Because if we understand what Shmuel said to Shaul, talking about the king with a heart after Yahuwah, and when we see what was talking about the Kohen, a person that is going to do according to the heart of Yahuwah, and if we understand the bigger picture, that we are being called to be king and priest, what Yahuwah is searching in our hearts is to exactly the same, that we are going to do according to what is in his heart, that we are going to have a heart after his own heart, because you and me are being called to be Kohanim be Melachim, priests and kings. So let's look for some passages that is talking about the heart. And I think, those are important to remember. Let's go to the book of Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 86, verse 11 and 12. It says the following: Teach me your way, O Yahuwah. Let me walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear your name. I praise you, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, with all my heart, and I esteem your name forever. That's the type of heart that Yahuwah is looking for, a contrite heart, seeking for his face, worshiping him at all time. It is written in his Torah that we need to worship him, with all our strength, with all our heart, with all our mind. And this is exactly what we see, written here in Tehillim. That needs to be your attitude. asking Abba to unite our heart in order to worship and to acknowledge Him and to give Him praise. And we see something very similar in this amazing Tehillah in the Psalms 119. Let's go to the verse 80. It says the following: let my heart be perfect. Not to be crooked, not to be sick. Let my heart be perfect in your laws, so that I am not put to shame. Be perfect in your Torah, so I'm not being put to shame. There are so many other passages that we see what's the attitude we need to have, what's the heart we need to have for Yahuwah. That's the heart that Yahuwah is searching out in you and me. Let's read a few other passages. This is in the book of Mishle, Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 26. It says, my son, give me your heart, and let your eyes watch my ways. This is what Yahuwah is asking from us, to give Him our heart. And He is going to teach us His ways. Let's go again to the book of Psalms, chapter 24, verse 1 to 4. The earth belongs to Yahuwah, and all that fills it, the world and those who dwell in it. For He has founded it upon the seas, and upon the waters He does establish it. Who does go up into the mountains? Mountain of Yahuwah. Remember that we were reading this in the book of Yeshayahu. Let's go up to the mountain of Yahuwah, to the house of the Elohim of Israel. Who does go up into the mountains of Yahuwah? And who does stand in His set-apart place? Who? The answer is in the 4. He who has innocent hands and a clean heart, who did not bring his life to naught, and did not swear deceivingly. Who are the one that is going to be in His house? Are the one with a clean heart, not with a crooked one. And this is exactly what He's demanding and asking from all of us, to have a heart after His own heart. Let's go to the chapter 51. I'm sorry if I'm extending too much on this, but I think it's an important topic. And actually, there is an open question here. I would like to study this in more details. What is the heart? It's not the physical organ that we have. We know that we have here in our chest. According to the scripture, the heart is something even more. And we need to understand what is the heart in order to understand much better what Yahuwah is asking from you and me. We don't have the time to go in through that study now, but I will invite you to look into it, to study this, because it's important to understand what is the heart according to Yahuwah's eyes. So let's go to the chapter 51, verse 10 to 11, and it says, create in me a clean heart. Who is the one to stand in the house of Elohim? The ones with innocent hands and with a clean heart. How we are going to be able to change our crooked heart, our sick heart, into a clean heart? The answer is very easy. We need to ask Abba. We need to ask Him, as we see here happening, in the words of a man that was with the heart after the heart of Yahuwah doing. Create in me, O Yahuwah, a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. That should be our prayer. Create in me a clean heart. Create in me a clean heart, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Ruach HaKodesh from me. Is Yahuwah the only one that He's going to renew and give us a clean heart? And let me read the 12, because I just noticed, and this is beautiful. Restore to me the joy of your deliverance, And uphold me, noble spirit, noble ruach. He is the one, the only one who can restore our joy here in our heart within us. He is the one giving us joy. No matter that everything is going wrong around us, He is the one, the only one that He can give us joy, real joy within us. So, is Yahuwah the one who can restore and give us a clean heart? And what's the amazing thing and the amazing aspect of all of this? And this is exactly what was His promise. And this is so beautiful because we see everything connected as part of the plan of Yahuwah. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, just to explain myself. In the chapter 36, verse 25 and 27. It says the following. And I shall sprinkle clean water on you, Yahuwah speaking to His people. I shall sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. You remember, a clean heart. From all your filthiness and from all your idols, I cleanse you. And I shall give you a new heart and put a new ruach within you. And I shall take the heart of stone out of your flesh. And I shall give you a heart of flesh and put my ruach within you. And I shall cause you to walk in my laws and guard my right rulings, my mishpatim, and shall do them. That's the promise that is coming with the Brit Hadashah. That's the promise that is coming with the renewed covenant. That renewed covenant that's coming by the atoning offering of Yahushua HaMashiach in the stake, by His blood that He shed for all of us in order to cleanse us from sin, in order to seal the new covenant. That's why Yahuwah, and that's the way that Yahuwah is giving us and replacing any crooked heart with a new and clean heart. And we stay in the way of Yahuwah. We are going to keep that clean heart. But that depends on you and me. We are continue being obedient to the way of Yahuwah in order to keep that clean heart. And if we continue and we keep that clean heart, we are going to be those ones that are going to stand in the house of Yahuwah, because we will have innocent hands and a clean heart. You see, at the end, sometimes we don't need to do much. And it's so beautiful because Yahuwah is the one that is doing everything for us. And sometimes we act exactly as Shaul did. We are trying to do everything with our own hands. We are trying to do everything believing that we are doing the good thing. But not necessarily. Sometimes we just need to wait on Yahuwah. And He is the one doing everything in us and for us. I have experienced this in my own life, and I'm sure that you have experienced the same. We need to learn from all of this. Last night I was complaining to myself because, I started to do some work here in this project at home. And I forgot to change clothes. And it happened to me, a few months ago, that I did the same and I screwed up a sweater, And it happened to me yesterday again. And was shouting to myself, how long, are going to take for you to learn. You need to change your clothes. If not, you are going to continue screwing up new clothes. And now, I just remember myself, now that we're speaking this. This is exactly, that's happening to us. If we do not learn, we will continue doing exactly the same mistakes. We need to have our eyes open. We need to discern. We need to learn from the past, but not living in the past. We need to live in the present moment, serving Yahuwah with all our heart, learning from our mistake, growing up in order to continue serving Yahuwah, having the heart that He has given us. If not, if we don't do that, we can fall in the mistake that we believed that we are serving Yahuwah when we are not. And this is something, I skipped, but I think we need to talk about. Is that we can fall in the mistake that we believe that we are serving Yahuwah, as Shaul did, He decided to gave the ascending offerings. He decided to give the ascending offerings in order to appease the face of Yahuwah. Because he was afraid. And the answer he gave to Shmuel, I have to do it. I gave the offerings to Yahuwah. I was serving him when he was not. We can be acting with the same mistake if we don't learn from the past in order to be a better child of Elohim in the present. And the time is coming, and Yahushua was talking about that. I think we are living in these times that people will believe that they are rendering service to Elohim when they are not, because they are acting in disobedience. And this is written. Let's take a look, because all these things are so important. It's in the chapter 16 of the book of Yehohanan, John, verse 1 to 3, and it says the following. These words I have spoken to you so that you do not stumble. They shall put you out of the congregations. But an hour is coming when everyone who kills you shall think he's rendering service to Elohim. And this they shall do to you because they did not know the Father nor me. You see why we will see people, as we saw Saul, believing that they're rendering service to Elohim when they are not. And the reason is because they don't know the Father and they don't know the Son. How we can be sure that we know them? If we follow their commands, if we follow their Torah, if we follow the step of Yahushua, if we deny ourselves, exactly everything that we have been talking today, if we do what is right in His eyes, and we avoid to do what is right in our own eyes, not being wise in our own eyes. All of this is so beautiful, and again, for me, as I told you, it's a warning, a portion that is serving as a warning for all of us, what we have to avoid. What we have to avoid, and to the opposite, what else we have to do in order to serve Yahuwah in the right way. I have two specific things to share with you about the chapter 14, and I'm going to extend that much. One of them I think is beautiful and is so important. But if you allow me, I would like to rest my voice a little bit and drink more water. And so I'm gonna share with you a song, the song that Jake was sharing with us in the past. So stay with me for a minute. Let's listen to this song, and we will continue with the topics that I want to share with you in the chapter 14. So here we go.
My son, listen to the words I speak, the truth, it's calling. Hearken to the voice above to keep from falling. When the wicked call out your name to find and entice you, then you must stay strong, do not follow them. Men in high places controlling the masses, the words that they speak will be hardening your heart. Question your burden, for the yoke is easy, your pain and your trials will bring you to light. All in or nothing, please wake up, you're dreaming, the time is now short, alarm in your heart. Purpose beginning, complacency ending, but heartless, the lawless never look up. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, so many lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, so many lies and inherited evils. Living and dying, they're in touch colliding, they're finding their way through the shadow of day. You must not hearken to the voice of prophets if their words distract you from the perfect way. Who then will guide you, the truth that's inside you, the words of Most High, hidden inside. Then Yah will lead you, but first He must free you from love of the world, which glitters and shines. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Buried like gold, blind lose their soul, must break their hold, escape your asylum. Prisons and minds, locked into time, don't fall in line, escape your asylum. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils. Wake up the people, all the blind sitting under the steeples, all the lies and inherited evils.
You know, it's I didn't prepare this, but what's the lyrics of the song is exactly what we need to do. You know, is just wake up the people. This is exactly what we have been talking about today. So, you know, as I told you, I have only two things that I want to share with you about the chapter 14. Let me put the scripture again in the screen. And, you know, we're going to start with the first one. And this is a practical thing, actually, that we see here in this chapter. And how to seek for the will of Yahuwah. And we see this happening, you know, in the chapter 14, from verse 8 to 10. And we see this in the story of Jonathan, when he decided to go and fight against the Philistines. You know, he was not afraid, and that should be our heart as well, you know. He decided to go and fight. And actually, we are going to read from verse 6 because he's giving us a more insight, a more expanded perspective of what's happening. So it says it starting in the verse 6. And Jonathan, said to the young man who bore his armor, "Come, and let us go over the outpost of this uncircumcised. If so be, Yahuwah does work for us. For there is no hindrance for Yahuwah to save by many or by few." In just few words, what we see happening here is faith in action. Jonathan knew that Yahuwah can save his people by the hand of many, of the hand of just few. And he believed in Yahuwah. That's why he decided to move ahead. So let's continue reading. And Jonathan said, "See, we are passing over to them and show ourselves to them." And this is the part that we need to learn as one of the way to discern and to seek the will of Yahuwah. And you can put this into practice in your own life. It says, "If they say this to us, wait until we come to you, then we shall stand still in our place and not go up to them. But if they say this, come up to us, then we shall go up, for Yahuwah has given them into our hand, and this is the sign to us." So, this is very practical, and I have used it in my own life, and I think we should learn from this. In any situation, we should act in the same way that Jonathan is showing us this here. If we are looking and seeking the will of Yahuwah for any circumstance that we are going through, beside casting lots that we were talking about this few weeks ago, this is a way, as Gideon did, asking Abba if this will happen, is because Yahuwah is with us and he wants us to move forward in this direction. And if this other thing is happening, is because Yahuwah is having a different decision. And you can put this in practice in different circumstances, believing that Yahuwah will manifest himself if you're really, truly seeking him in this direction. And let's read just this completely because we see what's happening. "And both of them disclosed themselves to the outposts of the Philistines. And the Philistines said, 'See, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden.' And the men of the outpost called to Jonathan and his armor bearer and said, 'Come up to us and let us teach you a lesson.'" And this is exactly what Jonathan was asking for. And he saw the confirmation. And and this is also an important second lesson for all of us. What Jonathan did, at the moment he heard the confirmation, understanding that Yahuwah was with him, he moved into action immediately. Because it says, "Then Jonathan said to his armor bearer, 'Come up after me, for Yahuwah has given them into the hand of Israel.' And Jonathan climbed up on his hands and knees with his armor bearer after him. And they fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer was putting them to death behind him. And that first smiting with Jonathan and his armor bearer struck was about 20 men in about half an acre of land. And there was trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. The outposts and the riders also trembled, and the ground shook, and it became a trembling of Elohim." You see, if we move forward, aligned to the will of Yahuwah, aligned to what is in the heart of Yahuwah, marvelous things will happen. So we have two lessons here in my point of view. First, is a way to seek the will of Yahuwah in any decision in our lives. And second is that we need to move into action immediately as soon as we see confirmation of Yahuwah's will. And when we move into action immediately, Yahuwah will manifest and marvelous, wonderful things will happen. Because at the end, it says, and it became a trembling of Elohim. No matter, how big the giant is, Yahuwah will give us the strength if we move ahead according to His will, because we know that He is with us. So that's the first point that I wanted to share with you about the chapter 14. And the second, I titled this, and it's for me, it's something I didn't see this before, and I think it's connected to something important. I titled this The Parable of the Bad Shepherd. The Parable of the Bad Shepherd. And I think we see this more expanded actually from verse 13 and verse 14. But specifically, just to share with you this, what I call the parable of the bad shepherd, is what we read in this chapter 14 from verse 24 to verse 30. So let's read it first, and then I will share with you the different points that I saw here, just for your understanding. So it says, and the men of Israel were distressed that day. After they win the battle, you can read this in context later on, the entire chapter 14. So after they win the first battle against the Philistine, and the men of Israel were distressed that day, for Saul had placed the people under oath. So the leader of the Israel put an oath, and we haven't studied this, how important oaths are. Saying, "Cursed be the man who eats food until evening, and I have taken revenge of my enemies." Therefore, none of the people tasted food. After this big battle, he put this oath, so nobody was able to eat food. And starting in a battle, people get hungry. They get exhausted. They needed to re-energize themselves again. So let's continue reading. And all they of the land came into the woods, and there was honey on the ground. And the people came into the woods and saw the honey dripping, but no one put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan had not heard that his father had taken an oath of the people. And he stretched out the end of the rod that was in his hand and dipped it in a honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes lit up. Then one of the people said, "Your father strictly took an oath of the people, saying, 'Cursed be the man who eats food today.' And the people were weary. And Jonathan said, 'My father has troubled the land. Now, see how my eyes lit up when I tasted a little of this honey. How much better if the people had well eaten today of the spoil of their enemies, which they found. For then would not the slaughter among the Philistines have been greater?'" So we see all of this happen, and I'm going to stop there because those are the only passages that I want to refer to. And just give me a second. I will turn the light because it's too dark here. Yes, much better. So, so what's the point here? This is a story, interesting one. Actually, later on it's coming to something about the ransom of Jehonathan. And for those of you that they were taking a look in the study that I did a few weeks ago about the ransom, you can consider that passage as well as an additional one about the ransom of the people. But what I see here is something, again, as a parable. And I call it the parable of the bad shepherd because of the reason. So what Shaul did is to not allow the people to eat when they deserved to eat. He didn't allow the people to have food. And also, if you continue the story, in this case, Yehonatan eat honey. So food, honey, and also what happened with his eyes. It says that as soon as he tasted the honey, his eye lit up. Those are the three aspects, three variables, important ones, that is expanding somehow the understanding of what I'm calling the parable of the bad shepherd. So food not allowed, honey as a type of food, and also the eyes light up. So what is food according to the word of Yahuwah? Let's go to the book of Matthew at Yahoo, chapter 4, verse 3 and 4. And this is when Yahushua was in the wilderness, after his baptism, and the Ruach led him to the wilderness to be tempted, tried by the devil. So it says in the verse 3 and 4, and the trier came and said to him, if you are the son of Elohim, command that these stones become bread. So it's talking about food. He was tempting him with food because he was fasting. But Yahushua, he answering, said, it has been written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah. What Yahushua is talking about, that food is also the word of Yahuwah. And the other way around, the word of Yahuwah is food. And you will see where I'm going to with all these points. So food was not allowed for the people of Israel. And in the other side, we see that the word of Yahuwah is also compared with food. Let's go to another passage in the book of John, Yehohanan, chapter 4, and this is in the verse 31 to 34. And this is, in the story of this woman on the well in Shomeron in Samaria. It says in the verse 31 to 34. But in the meantime, you know the story, so I'm not going to go into the details, but let's focus in these passages specifically. But in the meantime, his taught ones, his disciples, were asking him, saying, Rabbi, eat. They were concerned because, he was not eating. And actually, they were going to the town in order to get food. So they were saying, Rabbi, eat. And listen to what Yahushua was telling them. And he said to them, I have food to eat, of which you do not know. Then the taught ones said to each other, did anyone bring him food to eat? So they were thinking again with his own minds and his own understanding. But let's listen what Yahushua told them. Yahushua said to them, my food is to do the desire of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. So, what is food? Is to do the desire of Yahuwah. What is food? Is the word of Yahuwah. So I just want you to store this, and I will explain more about this parable of the bad shepherd. So what about honey? That's the other aspect of this parable. So let's go to the book of Tehillim, Psalms. Chapter 19, verse 9 and 10. And this entire chapter, is talking about the Torah of Yahuwah in the verse 7. The Torah of Yahuwah is perfect. Let's read it entirely because it's so beautiful. The Torah of Yahuwah is perfect, bringing back the being. The witness, the dude of Yahuwah is trustworthy, making wise the simple. The orders, the hukim of Yahuwah are straight, rejoice in the heart. The command of mitzvot of Yahuwah is clear, enlightening the eyes. And this is something important. I didn't notice this, but keep this in mind to what happened to Jonathan. The commands, the mitzvot of Yahuwah is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahuwah is clean, standing forever. The mishpatim, the other ones were the hukim. This is the right ruling. The mishpatim of Yahuwah are true. They are righteous altogether. More desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than honey and the honeycomb. So the Torah of Yahuwah being compared to honey and to the honeycomb, that the Torah is even sweeter than the honey and the honeycomb. And see, this is important. What the command and the Torah of Yahuwah is doing to our eyes is giving us light. So another passage about the same is in the book of Tehillim, in the chapter 119. Verse 103. And it says the following: How sweet to my taste has your word been, more than honey to my mouth. Again, is comparing the word of Yahuwah, that is somehow food as well, compared to honey, sweeter, even better than honey. And there is another passage. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, Yehezkel, chapter 3, verse 1 to 3. And he said to me, Ben Adam, son of man, eat what you find, eat this scroll, and go, speak to the house of Israel. And I opened my mouth, and he fed me the scroll. And he said to me, Son of man, feed your stomach, and fill your stomach with this scroll that I am giving you. And I ate it, and it was as sweet as honey in my mouth. If we connect all the passages, the scroll that he was eating was the word of Yahuwah, the Torah of Yahuwah, the scrolls of the word of Yahuwah. So what's the point that I'm making so far? The word of Yahuwah is like food. The desire of Yahuwah is like food. It's like honey that is enlightening in the eyes. What about light on the eyes? It says in the book of Tehillim, chapter 19. And let me give you all the passages, and I'm going to connect the dots in just a minute. Just bear with me a minute. So it says in the chapter 119, verse 105, it says the following: Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. The word of Yahuwah is a light, is a lamp. So, again, connect all the aspects, food, honey, light on the eyes. Because if you go actually to the Hebrew, when it's written that as soon as Jonathan tasted the honey, his eye lit up. That word lit is the Hebrew word or. And the Hebrew word or, it means light. So his eyes became with light. And think about the parable somehow that I'm going to explain you in a minute. Let's go to the book of Mishle, Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 23. It says, For the command is a lamp, and the Torah a light, and reproofs of discipline a way of life. So all over and all over again, that the Torah of Yahuwah is food, is like honey, is the one giving us light to our eyes. And even Yahushua HaMashiach, he gave us an example that is so beautiful that we need to consider all the time. In the chapter 6, verse 22 and 23, saying the following: The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, all your body shall be enlightened. But if your eye is evil, all your body shall be darkened. If then the light that is within you is darkness, How great is that darkness? So, he's talking about the importance of the eye, the importance of having the light of Yahuwah. And we know that the light of Yahuwah is His word, and we know that the word of Yahuwah is like food. So let me connect all these words and all these points for you in this parable on what I call the parable of the bad shepherd. What Shaul did, Yahuwah promised to his people to send them, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey. Shaul was forbidden the people to eat, were forbidden the people to have food. It's like Shaul, being the shepherd of the people of Israel, forbidden them to have the word of Yahuwah, to have the desire to do the will of Yahuwah. Even when Jehonathan was tasting the honey, because of the oath that Shaul did, he was going to kill him because of the oath. It's like forbidding them to eat the word of Yahuwah, to live in the word of Yahuwah, to taste the word and the desire of Yahuwah. That's a bad shepherd. Not to give the chance to the people to eat the true food that is coming from heaven. It's the true food that is the word of Yahuwah, that is sweeter than honey. And we know in this parable, what happened to Jehonathan. As soon as he tasted the honey, he received light. And this is exactly what we see here happening in all these passages. As soon as we receive the word of Yahuwah, as soon as we walk in the word of Yahuwah, we will receive light, the light of Yahuwah. But Shaul was doing something totally different. He was forbidding the people to enjoy the food that is coming from heaven. He was forbidding the people to enjoy the food that was coming from Yahuwah and the promises of Yahuwah. That's why Jonathan was saying that my father has traveled the land. It's true, he was traveling the land and traveling the people physically. But if we see this in a context of the parable, and we see this in a spiritual context, he was traveling the people to enjoy the way of Yahuwah by not able to taste the word of Yahuwah and to following his desire and his will. And you know what happened with this? Because of the bad shepherd, people committed a bigger sin. If you go and read the context of what's happening later on, they started to eat the blood, they eat the meat with the blood. They committed sin against of Yahuwah. Why? Because the shepherd that was leading them and guiding them didn't let them enjoy what they needed to enjoy. So not having the word of Yahuwah, not have been able to taste the word of Yahuwah in order to receive the light of the world, it will lead us to commit a bigger sin. That's why we need to taste the word of Yahuwah as Yahushua did. I'm coming here, my food is to do the desire and the will of my Father. That's the food that I need. It's the primarily food that I need. That's what is most important to me, is to get this food in order to receive the light of Abba. And by doing this, connected to everything that we have been studying and talking today, is the way that we are going to be special people. We are going to be able to bring that light and to serve as a lamp into this world. And just to complete this parable of the bad shepherd in this passage, there are a few passages that we need to consider about the bad shepherds. And let's go to the book of Isaiah, Yeshayahu. And with this, we are going to finish this broadcast. It says in the chapter 56. This is like a marathon, We are at 2.5 hours so far. But it has been a good marathon. I hope that you have been enjoying and it's been a blessing to you as it is for me. So it says in the verse 11 and 12, and the dogs have a strong appetite. They never have enough. And they are shepherds. They have not known understanding. You remember what we were discussing about Shaul? Not having the understanding of Yahuwah. doing what was right in his eyes. They have not no understanding. All of them look to their own way. It's exactly what we have been talking about today. Everyone for his own gain, for his own end, saying, "Come, let me bring wine and fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as today, even much greater." So that's the heart of a bad shepherd. Exactly as we see Shaul doing in chapter 13 and chapter 14. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, chapter 10, verse 21. And it says, "For the shepherds have become brutish." You remember what Shmuel said to Shaul? "You have been foolish." It's exactly the same. For the shepherds have become brutish, and they have not sought Yahuwah. It's exactly the same thing that we were studying and discussing today. Therefore, they did not understand, and all their flock scattered. You remember what happened with Israel? They scattered. They were moving out from Shaul. And the last one in the chapter 23 on the same book, Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, verse 1 to 4. "Woe to the shepherds destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares Yahuwah. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah Elohim of Israel against the shepherds who feed my people. You have scattered my flock, driven them away, and have not tended them. See, I am punishing you for the evil of your deeds, declared Yahuwah." And this is exactly what happened to Shaul. He was punished. He lost his crown because of his disobedience. "Therefore I shall gather the remnant of my flock out of all the lands where I have driven them. I shall bring them back to their fold, and they shall bear and increase. And I shall raise up a shepherd over them, and they shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be discouraged, nor shall they be lacking, declares Yahuwah." And this is exactly, the promise of the king and the promise of the priest, the Melech and the Kohen, both of them that are going to do according to what is in the heart of Yahuwah. And that's our beautiful Yahushua HaMashiach. That's the shepherd that he has been risen up, and he is sending us back once again in order to gather his people, because differently to the parable of the bad shepherd, as we have been talking, we have the parable of the good shepherd. And it's not only a parable, it's a reality, because we have one true shepherd, and that is Yahushua HaMashiach, the King of Kings and the Adon HaAdonim. So, brothers and sisters, this is what I have for today. I really hope this has been a real blessing for you. I told you at the beginning that I have many things to share with you, especially on the chapter 13. And, I think it's been amazing. The times that we are living is demanding from us to study these things, to prepare our heart, and not only our heart, our mind, to be steadfast, to be firm on the rock, to be firm on the way, not to deviate ourselves to the right or not to the left, to move ahead straight forward to the destiny, to the kingdom of Yahuwah, living in that righteousness, having the right heart, having a heart that Yahuwah is looking for and searching out day and night, a heart that he's expecting from kings and priests, as we are being called to, a heart that is doing according to his heart. That's the main message for me first, and the one that I wanted to share with you today. So, my brothers and sisters, thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you that have been following the daily Tehillah that we have been sharing, uploading to this channel for the counting of Shavuot, we will continue until the day 15. I really hope that you are enjoying this. We are doing it with all our love, first to Yahuwah and to all of you. It's a blessing to do it. So I hope that you will continue enjoying this until, expecting what's going to happen to Shavuot. We need to wait on Yahuwah. We need to wait on what He's going to do with His people this year, in this season. And it's no doubt in my heart, it should not be doubt in your heart that He will do amazing and wonderful things with us. Because as the darkness increases, light is also increasing. As the evil increases, good is also increasing in His people. And this is exactly what we need to believe. This is exactly what we need to look forward. Is that we need to understand that Yahuwah is doing something. As the wheat is growing, darnel is also growing. And what's coming at the end of times, and that time is coming soon, He will gather the darkness in one side, the darnel in one side, and his wheat in one side. So let's not be afraid that the evil and darkness is growing, because we need to know that good is also, and the light of Yahuwah is also increasing. That's our hope. That's our belief. And this is what we need to hold fast in this time of challenges and this time of trouble, but also at the same time, these amazing times that we have been chosen by Yahuwah to live. So having said that, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. I hope to see you next week, in the next portion of this amazing book of Samuel. And I really hope that you are going to have a beautiful end of Shabbat, and you are going to have a Baruch Shavua, a blessed week that is starting tomorrow. So thank you so much for your love, support, and for joining us today. See you next week. Yahuwah will be with you all. Shalom, and much love to all of you. Bye.
יברכך יחוה וישמרך, יאר יחוה פניו לך וחונקה, יישא יחוה פניו לך ויעשה לך שלום, יישא יחוה פניו לך ויעשה לך שלום, ויעשה לך שלום, ויעשה לך שלום. Yahuwah bless you and keep you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
su rostro en ti y tenga de ti compasión. Yahuwah, alce su rostro sobre